despite the salacious title, How to Look Good Naked, it was essentially an internal makeover show. We would take women who were, shy and kind of put themselves down and had self-esteem issues. And through a 5-day transformational experience, we basically had them confront their worst fears and then had the episode climax in a TV safe nude photo shoot, which we then projected over Santa Monica Boulevard.
My next guest is a filmmaker, producer, and creative strategist whose path runs from Chapman and USC through documentaries, reality television, studio systems, tech, public art, and original features. He produced the acclaimed documentary Walk in the Light, worked under Penny Marshall, contributed to shows from How to Look Good Naked to The Next Iron Chef, later built Greater and Grander, published Threads of Imagination, and recently released the satirical feature Unfriendly Fire, with Exploration Station now in development. Please welcome to the show, Richard Tucci.
Thank you so much, Dave. It's wonderful to be here.
Oh, it's wonderful to have you. Before we started, we were saying, so you're in LA and you're burning up right now, or you've been burning up. You're cooling down at the minute.
Been burning up. On Tuesday, it was a hot 100 degrees, which is not common for Los Angeles in March. Today, it's a much more comfortable 87. But yeah, it's looking to be a hot year. So we'll see what happens.
Man, if you guys reached 3 digits already, what's summer going to be like for you?
I don't know, but I'm sure my electricity will go out.
It's all about air conditioning at that point. There's nothing else.
Yes.
Oh, Richard, let's start at the beginning. So if I went back and if I looked at Little Richard, not the singer, but yourself when you're at school.
Well, let's not look at Little Richard because he's way more attractive than I am. So don't.
He did some great songs. What did you want to do? Was this always your journey? Was there something else? I mean, you're a project manager as well, right?
I am a certified project manager. It's funny, though, because when I was a kid, I was a teenager. And of course, I always was obsessed with having some kind of grand job, an astronaut, an architect, an actor, always liked the A's for some reason. And around when I was 17 or 16, I was like, okay, I want to be an actor. And I thought to myself, well, maybe I should actually, I'm going to become a producer. And then that way I will become, I'll be able to cast myself in my movies, which of course, logic of a 16-year-old. But then I thought, well, maybe I should see what this whole producing thing actually means and what it's like. And so I should go check it out at a summer program. And here in America, we have no shortage of great film programs, summer programs like the New York Film Academy, UCLA Extensions. I chose University of Southern California Summer Production Workshop. It was a really great program. It was great for me at the time. And I was able to get college credits for it as well, which was nice. And through that 5-week program, I realized, oh no, producing is where my passion is. I mean, you can have a talented actor, you can have a great cinematographer, a great script, what have you, but unless you have a great producer to bring it all together, you could wind up with Howard the Duck. Or rather, I should say some other movie because I actually said that in an interview and the person said, I worked on Howard the Duck.
Marvel movie, technically.
Yes, technically a Marvel movie. Might be a Disney Plus series for all we know coming up, but yeah.
So was it hearing Gary Ross speak that made the filmmaking real for you at that summer camp?
It was. Gary Ross, for those who don't know, is the director of Pleasantville. I wouldn't call it a summer camp because we actually, I would say summer program, just because we were nowhere near the woods, unlike this beautiful background behind me. But Gary Ross, for those who don't know, is the director of Pleasantville, as well as great classic movies like Moon Over Parador and Dave and what have you. Actually, I might have gotten that wrong, so please cut out whichever film I got wrong. But hearing him speak, hearing him talk about his process, hearing him talk about his love of filmmaking was really one of the things that set me off and was a core part of my journey. And it was great also as a 17-year-old to meet this guy whose film I absolutely loved and looked up to.
So what did you do? You left the program, and then did you start working on your own stuff, the documentaries, the commercials? What was the path after that?
No, it was a bit more difficult than that because I left the USC summer production workshop saying I want to go into film and I want to go to USC Film School.
Hmm.
And so uh, started my senior year at high school, got great letters of recommendation from faculty, put together a college application. I actually put together a college essay for USC Film School because I was a big Shakespeare nerd in high school. And so I put together this essay that was basically my life story in iambic pentameter in the form of a Shakespearean scene. Um,
Hmm.
and I sent it out. Of course, because I was a bit paranoid at the time, I also sent to a ton of other film schools. But unfortunately, USC was one of the few film schools that rejected me. So I went to Chapman University, as you mentioned earlier. Also, Chapman, fantastic film school, wonderful program. They've actually built out the program to amazing heights in the last 20 years. And I actually started producing projects or actively trying to produce projects when I was still a freshman in college, which at the time in the Chapman Film School's 10-year history was virtually unheard of. And so but I was determined to get into USC. So I put together all of my application materials. I kept the Shakespearean essay, got really great letters of recommendation, sent it in, and was promptly rejected again by USC Film School. Um, at this point, the going into my sophomore year, I was so angry with this outcome that I basically started over from scratch, wrote a bunch of new essays. And in fact, my main essay to USC Film School began with, "This is my third and final application to USC Film School. And if you don't take me this time, you can go to hell." Uh, I then went on for 2 pages about how I was determined to succeed in Hollywood no matter what. But long story short, 4 months after sending that application in, I got my acceptance letter to USC Film School. Um,
Wow.
yes, yes. Very fortunate, very happy. Also, this is definitely do as I say, not as I do story, because I don't think that would fly now. Um,
Did
but
they did they ever
mhm.
talk to you about that? Did they ever reference that?
They never did, actually, funny enough. And in fact, I don't think I ever got a chance to meet the person who read and accepted my application. But I got in somehow. So yeah.
I'd love to. I think you should find them. I'd love to know what that sparked in them, whether it was something that they never did, or you know what I mean. I wonder if there was something that they could relate to and was like, okay, yep, no, this time's right for them.
Yeah, from what I hear, what I've heard after the fact, that film school and other film schools tend to like essays that make you go like, ah, you got moxie, you got spunk, kid, you're gonna do great things, you know. So I think that kind of vibe is what they're drawn to and attracted
So you think that these schools have 1950s characters sat behind a desk?
to. Yes, they've got the Fonzie just walking around in the background, and I'm
Because no one says you've got moxie anymore that I've ever
no,
seen.
my friends do, but my friends are weird, admittedly.
So okay, so you finally made it in,
Mhm.
and what did that change everything for you then?
You know, it's funny because, and I talk with a lot of film students these days, you know, and there's always the questions of like, is film school worth it? And the truth is, it's not get into the right film school, you're going to get immediate success. It's more of a chain link program. You get into a good film school, and if you play your cards right, that can help you get an elevated internship. And I was very fortunate that when I was at USC, I was an intern for Damon Lee at Urban Entertainment. I was an intern for Roger Corman, who is infamous and famous at the same time in Hollywood. And I also had an internship for Oscar winner Arnold Copelson.
Wow.
So I had all of these internships. And then after that, I also basically I'd graduated USC. I started looking for a job. And then a friend of mine had basically gotten me a listing from the UTA job list a day early. For those who don't know, UTA job list, UTA is one of the big talent agencies in Hollywood. And the UTA job list is basically the prestigious insider classifieds for assistant positions and other positions. So he had gotten me this job listing early to be the assistant to Penny Marshall. Penny Marshall, of course, the first director to make a huge blockbuster $100 million gross film. She directed Big. She directed A League of Their Own. She directed Preacher's Wife and a ton of other great films. So I applied, having gotten the application listing early. I got into an interview and actually meeting with both Penny and her producing partner at the time, Cynthia Hargrave, in Penny's home. They actually looked at my resume and they said, "Oh, you interned for Arnold. We know Arnold very well." Yeah. So it's a question of like getting a good film school, getting the good internship, getting the internship that will look good on a resume, and then getting the jobs that continue to get better and better from there. So that would be my advice to film students currently looking at their prospects. So
That's it's an interesting conversation, and the reason I say it is,
Mhm.
what year were you doing your film school?
I graduated in 2005.
2005, because
Yes.
obviously, I mean, it's almost a perfect timeline. Since 2005, what YouTube was 2006, 2007. Since the evolution of
Hmm.
that, the devices. I speak to a lot of directors and various people in the industry, and it's changed a lot because yes, film
Oh
school
yeah.
at one stage would have been the catalyst for people to get into the industry, but now greenlight yourself. There's various other ways that people are doing it and being very successful without actually needing to go the traditional routes and face the studios.
Oh, absolutely. One of the most recent success stories here in the States was a YouTuber by the name of Markiplier. And
Yes,
yes, yeah, I'm sure
Iron Fist.
yes, Iron
Was it
Fist. Wait, was it Iron Fist or Iron Lung?
Iron Lung? Iron Lung.
Yes,
You're right. Yes.
something iron. Yes. But
Yes.
basically, yeah, and him building out his YouTube base of millions of followers from a basic gaming channel, which he also, quite frankly, navigated very well and very smartly. Not only did he build out his own channel, but he also did quote unquote internships with Corridor Digital, another prominent YouTuber in the Los Angeles space, which also got him more followers. Again, moving up kind of in that Sisyphus fashion, moving the boulder up slowly up the hill, slowly but surely. And now he literally had a number one film at the box office. It's incredible.
Yes. Yeah. So it has changed. I don't think the world's quite settled yet. I mean, there's a number of changes. We'll reference your IT background with AI and what that's doing to every industry, let alone film industry, and then what education is having done to it through AI and various other things. It's the world's in a changing state right now, I'd say, and we haven't worked it out.
Agree 100%. But
Yes.
also from a film and entertainment perspective, that changed, in my opinion, as soon as digital filmmaking became so prominent. Because once you take away the classic 35 millimeter film with its classic like spokes, and into like physical spokes, like a ratchet into film, a very like mechanical system that you could argue goes all the way back, 80 or 100 years to the dawn of film itself. But
Yep.
once you get into digital filmmaking, your technology is now tied essentially to Moore's Law, which basically states every 18 months the capability of microchips is going to double. And so you're going to have not just HD filmmaking, but 2K, 4K, 8K, which is more powerful than the human eye can actually process. But
Yes.
still, we're having these massive leaps that are defining our industry based on Moore's Law every 18 months.
Yeah, I think Moore's law is going to change as well because Moore's law was based on humans being able to evolve the technology, and I think that AI being able to take on that task for us now, because that's only come in the last few years. Realistically, that's going to see that go up even more. God knows what it'll end up as, but crazy. So
Agree.
did Walk in the Light feel like the first moment the outside world said, "Yes, this is working for you"?
Walk in the Light was produced by USC. Chapman, just to give you the lay of the land for those who don't understand the film school world, Chapman was one of several film schools where you could essentially make your own thesis film as a senior. USC did not have that. USC had a system that was more akin to the studio system, where they actually handpicked certain students who had great director's reels, great scripts, and actually finance the making of those films. They had that at the undergrad level, which was 480, and they had the graduate level, which was 546. And also, I should also mention, they had both fiction narrative and also nonfiction documentaries. Through a course, strange turn of events, I wound up, even though I was an undergrad student, I wound up attached as a producer to a grad level documentary, Walk in the Light, which I'm very proud of. Morgan Rashida Stiff, who directed it, did a fantastic job both at directing the subjects and directing kind of the overall story and the editing process. And I'm very proud with how it turned out because this was in 2004, maybe 2005, and this was a documentary about an all-gay black church in South Central before gay marriage had been legalized, at a time when George Bush Jr. was hostile to the plight of LGBTQ plus citizens. And so to have that as a touchstone for us was a fantastic opportunity. With that being said, Morgan Rashida Stiff, or Sheeta for short, did a fantastic job of getting the film out there to festivals and getting it over to BET Jazz as well, who, surprisingly enough, the LGBTQ networks like Here and Logo, from what I was told, passed on it because of the religious component. It made it too controversial. And so BET Jazz picked it up because they felt it would work well for their audience. Plus, BET Jazz was an offshoot and a fledgling network at the time, so they were really looking for content. And those kind of opportunities can really provide, a new branch for people venturing out with their content and their IP.
And what did unscripted shows like How to Look Good Naked, The Next Iron Chef, Surviving the Holidays with Lewis Black, what were they teaching you about pace, character, and producing under pressure?
Oh, God. I learned so much from those projects. And to be clear, even today, even in some circles in Hollywood, people look down on unscripted programming. I have I know you're cocking your head like what?
Yeah,
No,
I'm
yeah,
confused.
there is still a bit of a snobbery effect. Like, oh, I don't work in reality television. I work in TV. I work in scripted TV. I work in feature films. And in fact, some people have even said about me behind my back, oh, he was a producer on reality TV, so he's a terrible person. But the fact of the matter
Wow.
is, yeah, snobbery and arrogance. But How to Look Good Naked, for those who don't know, based on a popular British unscripted show. We brought it over for a Lifetime series, and I was the assistant to the executive producer on the first season. And then on the second season, I basically worked my way up from PA to associate producer, again, using a lot of my line producing experience from film school in that role and getting not just great like set pieces for low budget, but also working one on one with some of the subjects of the series. And despite the salacious title, How to Look Good Naked, it was essentially an internal makeover show. We would take women who were, shy and kind of put themselves down and had self-esteem issues. And through a 5-day transformational experience, we basically had them confront their worst fears and then had the episode climax in a TV safe nude photo shoot. which we then projected over Santa Monica Boulevard. But that was an incredible experience because it showed, again, like Walk in the Light, the ability to actually see how media could do a great job of like putting good out into the world and changing people's lives for the better. I literally saw some of the subjects I dealt with on season 1 and 2 go from kind of this mousy, insecure person to going off and starting their own businesses. And that was fantastic to see that. And I'm still communicating with some of them even today. I'm Facebook friends with a few of them. But yeah, it was an amazing show. And what I learned most from that is don't judge a book by its cover. Um, One other thing I do want to touch on is you mentioned surviving the holidays with Lewis Black. So
Yes.
when I went to USC, it was very much drilled into us. You have to have a script. You have to have a completed script. You have to have it completely planned out in advance. And that is true for some material in some genres. However, as I got out of film school, I started to see, well, maybe that's not 100% true. And in fact, after I left working for Penny Marshall, I worked as a production coordinator on a feature film directed by Bernard Rose, famous for Candyman and Immortal Beloved. And it
Mm-hmm.
was very much a micro budget production. It was like shooting on HD. There were 5 or 6 crew members, including myself, running around Los Angeles with a handful of actors. But what was astonishing was he did, oh, excuse me, he did not have a completed screenplay. He had a 30-page treatment based on the Kreutzer Sonata. That was the name of the film, by the way, and based on the Kreutzer Sonata by Dostoevsky, I believe. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm wrong, please put up the actual
I
author
will.
name in front of me, so I will humiliate myself. But no, he did this. It was artistically very well done. Obviously, everyone involved, Danny Houston, Elizabeth Rome, a ton of great actors with wonderful experience, and putting their all into this, I was like, oh, interesting. I never thought of that. Then several years later, I worked on a show, like you mentioned, How to Survive the Holidays with Lewis Black. And I was specifically on the Los Angeles unit. I didn't work with Lewis Black, who is in New York, but as part of the Los Angeles unit, basically they would bring in comedians who would do 5 to 10 minutes of material about the holidays, and they were given a rough outline or a treatment or just a couple of bullet points, and then they just did their material and they riffed and they came up with amazing uh, uh, stuff. And I was stunned. I was like, that was an option this whole time. And that experience very much went into a long form improvisation format that I use today in my creative writing and directing called the epic, where basically we do not, and I use that for several of my episodic pieces, the story of Ricardo Tomas, Dark and Darker, etc. And I also used it on my award-winning feature film, Unfriendly Fire.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And then after film and television, you also went deeper into project management, product and tech startups. What was that about? What was that direction for you?
You know, unfortunately, when I first graduated USC, the DVD and Blu-ray market was still going strong, and
Mm-hmm.
and they were shooting on film, and so payment for actors and crew had to be commensurate, and in certain ways, like accurate or size-wise, just good for shooting on film. And so film budgets were $4 million to $8 million if you had the right cast. And then within a few years, streaming took off, and uh, budgets that would normally be $2 to $4 million were now $250,000. And it was now virtually impossible to make a living as an independent film producer, unfortunately. Some of the most successful independent films of the last, 10 or 15 years have been movies like The Secret, which you can say whatever you like about The Secret and its philosophy, but it was incredibly successful financially. And also, it had aftermarket buy-ins. There were books about The Secret that you would buy. There were courses about The Secret that you could buy. And so that generated a lot of income. And that wasn't something that I, as someone who wanted to work in, you know, fiction filmmaking, uh, could find a way to navigate. So basically, taking my experience in Paramount Pictures, taking my experience in line producing, and putting that into project management certifications, I was able to then balance between both independent filmmaking and consulting contracts, essentially, for large companies. And I've been very fortunate that between 2015 and now, I've had big clients, including the Library of Congress, QVC, CBS, Warner Brothers. But quite frankly, in order to make a full-time living as a filmmaker, you have to get in with the studio system and get in with films that are being made for like $100 million a pop. And that's just, there's a very small number of seats for people to get their foot in the door for that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, understandable. And
Yeah.
you've also created visual art as Ricardo Tomás and worked on public murals in LA. What was that all about?
Okay. This requires a little bit of explanation. So when I first started working at Paramount Pictures in 2009, they had a very strict no moonlighting clause. And I mean, you literally had to go and fill out an online form for anything you wanted to do outside of work and give them 90 days to say if you could or could not do it. Um,
Wow.
yeah, it was like I'm not surprised at all that, you know, the company that bought Paramount wound up buying Paramount because there's a lot of corporate culture overlap there. But with that being said, I didn't want to deal with that headache. And in fact, since then, the California state legislature has correctly overruled that. No longer can companies say you can't do anything outside of work, and you can't say that you automatically own whatever this person does outside of work if it's not work related. So I didn't want to deal with that at the time, so I just came up with a pseudonym for my artwork, and it was Ricardo Tomas. And eventually, this character developed an accent and social media accounts and wigs. And so, so this became like a full-fledged character. I would joke around with my partners and my friends at the time, being like, "I am Ricardo Tomas. I want to see the art in your soul. Can I see the art in your soul?" You know, that kind of thing.
Wow. Well, that's
Yeah.
awesome. It's inventive. Good on you.
Thank you. And surprisingly enough, I had a client actually. I pitched him a episodic mockumentary about the life of Ricardo Tomas, and they were kind enough to fund it. And you can actually watch that on YouTube right now. So
We shall put a link right down here so people can see it.
yes, right here.
That's it. So, Unfriendly Fire, that's a satire about Second American Civil War, but it's also clearly trying to say something about the present. What made you think about that? What was the drive behind that one?
Well, I had basically gone through this process over a couple of years of directing mockumentary after mockumentary after mockumentary. And after combining all of my improv experience, my filmmaking experience, my line producing experience, I realized, oh, I could actually I could use my improv format, the epic, to create a feature film. And not only that, but I could allow uh, really wonderful, diverse comedians a chance at crafting this, which you obviously can't do with scripted stuff. Like maybe once in a while there's an improv line on set, but if you are working off of an outline and the actors are making up their dialogue on the spot, you have this kick of adrenaline in there and this authenticity that really brings out the best in people. And what for me, I was debating between three different topics. And for me, I chose this specific topic because it was just after January 6th. I don't know if you heard, but we kind of had a big thing in America on that day. Apparently, 77 million Americans forgot about it, but we had a very memorable event that day. Um,
Yep.
yeah, and so and so I put together this outline using my improv format called the Epic, and I did want to talk about the state of our country because I'm old enough now that, you know, right now there's the trans panic going through the United States and other countries, and I'm old enough to remember the gay panic of the 1990s. You know, my
Hmm.
family members would watch Fox News, and I remember them saying how if we legalize gay marriage, it will result in the destruction and downfall of the United States. Like, come on. Like this is absurd. And I wanted to do something that just kind of put out there something very similar to what my hero Mel Brooks did, which is Mel Brooks, of course, did The Producers, and he justified that movie making fun of Hitler because you can't you can't demonize someone who is legitimately as evil as that because that winds up putting them up on a pedestal. You have to make fun of them in order to bring them down to our level. Um,
Hmm.
and Mel Brooks has every right to do that, not only under the First Amendment, under freedom of speech, but also he fought in World War II against Nazis. He shot people, he shot Nazis. And I think that that motivation does very much carry through. And so I wanted to create something that made fun of America's radical right, that looked at the issues of abortion and transphobia and states' rights and all of these other topics in a way that actually pointed out the ridiculousness of some of these political positions. And I know that, you know, there's a number of Americans who are going to disagree with me, but I don't care. So and actually I showed the movie to several individuals, including one very close friend who is she is very conservative and she's an anti-Trump Republican, but she loved the movie even though it's making fun of a lot of conservative values because we go after everyone with equal opportunity. We have clear good guys and bad guys, but we do satirize both the left and the right, and that made conservative viewers of the movie feel very comfortable. And also because of the message, we were able to get some really wonderful actors, including Golden Globe nominee Beverly D'Angelo, Oscar nominee
Yeah.
Eric Roberts, and original Mad TV cast member Deborah Wilson. So,
Yeah, that's impressive. It's interesting, the transphobia. I don't
mhm.
know. I look at a lot of places across the world, and it's funny that you talk about the gay marriage because I do remember back in the 90s, and it wasn't just America; it was England and various other places that were against gay marriage. There was still a big homophobia out there, and then if you fast forward to, let's fast forward to 2010.
Mhm.
I think that was roughly when gay marriage was starting to be legalized globally,
Mhm.
more than anything else, and you can go forward to now, and the only difference that I've seen in my lifetime of them legalizing gay marriage is it's made a lot of people happy, and it's done nothing anywhere else. So the transphobia, it's again, it's another dichotomy that America faces, particularly because most of the rest of the world has kind of moved on. America did move on, but then you moved back. You undid some of the good work that was done.
Mhm.
And now again, it'll be as to where that goes to in the future. So interesting topics to hit on.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's if I can get on my soapbox for just a moment, one of the things that we should be, you know, celebrating and pushing for in America and in this world is radical equality. You know, we should
Hmm.
be focusing on what, because all of us, regardless of if we're gay or straight or trans or cis or black or white, or attractive like yourself or an ugly like myself, you know, we, regardless of all that, you like what you like and you have the right to do what you want. Do we really want people dictating what clothes you can and cannot wear? You know, what is the right uniform to wear for your tribe and what is not the right uniform to wear for your tribe? You know, this, if
Yeah.
you really kind of pull this apart, there's a lot of stuff that's actually like blatantly 1984 about it. But
Yes.
we shouldn't be focusing on our differences. We should be focusing about, you know, the fact that we are all the same underneath it.
Life is far too short to worry about it. That's for sure. People should just get over it and move on. Um,
Preach.
so you've got Exploration Station in development. What's that one about?
Yes. So Exploration Station is my baby. I've been workshopping this concept for almost a decade. But basically, short pitch is it is Sesame Street set on the moon. We follow a we follow a group of kids from all over the world, from America, from Kenya, from Germany, Syria, all over the world, as they travel to the Exploration Station Lunar Science Base, where they have all of the resources available to them known to science, and literally they use science to bring their imaginations to life. And I love this project because it is wholesale inspiration. It is designed for wholesale inspiration and to give people hope in this world. And I think that's something that we really need. I think it would be great if kids could look on TV and see someone that, may not look like them because, they have like green skin or pink skin, a la, the Muppets, but
Yeah.
they have an accent that's similar to them, and they can sense some of the words and some of the expressions, and they know that it represents them, and they know that maybe one day they can travel to the moon. Maybe one day they can build or make a cat that contains all the world's knowledge, or make a mini black hole, or any of these things that could potentially change our world, and they're going to be the ones to do it. It goes back actually to something Republican President Teddy Roosevelt said, which is you have to get action to change things. And that's something that I think I is imbued in this series. And I've been very fortunate that the group Film Independent agrees with me. Film Independent is one of the most prestigious nonprofits in Hollywood, second only maybe to the Sundance Institute. And they have helped launch the careers of many wonderful people, including Chloe Zhao and the Coen brothers, and even my own friends, Tina Mabry and Justin Simeon. They have helped launch their careers. And they have accepted it, Exploration Station, into their fiscal sponsorship program, which means if there's anyone out there who is an investor or just cares about the state of children's educational science programming, you can actually make a tax-deductible donation on the Film Independent website, and it will actually go towards the making of this episodic inspirational piece.
Love it. Richard, where are we going to put the link for that? Where's the link going?
Oh, the link for Exploration Station is here. It's up here. It's right behind here, too.
I can see it.
Yeah.
So what else is coming up for you, Richard? What are we looking forward to in the future? Is there more Ricardo or...
It's funny. My cinematographer, Alessandro, who's also a brilliant director in his own right, Alessandro has said, like, dude, you should make a feature film about Ricardo Tomas, about this guy. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe if Sacha Baron Cohen executive produces it, maybe, but otherwise I'm gonna wait. But no, I'm working on a ton of great projects. I actually just had a conversation last week with my sales rep, who's been helping me out with distribution, and he helped me zero in on what my next feature film is going to be. So I'm working on the outline for that. It's going to follow the epic format again. And then also, I have a couple of projects which I can't talk about the details at the moment, but they actually do have celebrity talent attached. And we are going out for pitches with them for bigger budgets in the $3 to $5 million range. So we'll see where that goes. And yeah, I'm excited for the future. I'll say that much.
Awesome. Well, if you do land any of those, or with the future feature films, if you and the cast want to come back and talk about the project, we are always keen to have you.
Would love to. And if I could raise one other plug before we go,
yes.
If you don't have enough money to help invest in Exploration Station to make it real, please check out my book, Threads of Imagination. Threads of Imagination. Oh, yes, right here. Yes.
Yep.
Threads of Imagination is a book that I wrote in preparation for making Unfriendly Fire. And before I knew it, I had like 70,000 words about storytelling and the nature of storytelling. And I was very fortunate that a nonprofit in LA called DSTL Arts picked it up and published it. So you can search Threads of Imagination, Richard Tucci on Amazon and buy it there. Or you can also buy it directly from the DSTL Arts nonprofit website. And they actually set a cut of that to go to young BIPOC artists, Black, Indigenous people of color, BIPOC. And it's a great nonprofit. Please support it. Please and check out the book. And it's going to be a great, if you've never told a story before, it's a great introduction to storytelling.
Love it. All of the links that Richard's talking about can be found right down there.
Oh my
Richard,
God,
thank you.
I'm being crushed under so many links. Oh my God.
Richard, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure.